Kintsugi is the traditional Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold, emphasizing a belief that the fracture is not something to hide, but something to honor. But what could this centuries-old craft possibly share with two game designers in a contemporary novel in which they struggle with their own personal griefs and the misfortune of their own lives? As Marx puts it, what is a game? It is tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. It is the possibility of infinite rebirth, infinite redemption. No loss was permanent ever. This is the philosophy both the story and its characters quietly live by, not because they're whole, but because they aren't. Every work of art begins with a fracture. For Sam, it's physical pain, feet shattered in a car crash, a childhood spent in recovery rooms, and hallways of boredom and loneliness. For Sadie, it's emotional rupture, being looked over, expectations she can't meet, and the strange ache of being recognized for a talent she didn't fully choose. Their friendship starts where their individual worlds have already cracked. A hospital game room, a borrowed cartridge, a shared screen. Before they build anything together, they share the brokenness. And like a Kintsugi craftsman, they don't pretend the cracks aren't there. They build through them, over them, and with them. Kintsugi doesn't erase the damage. It frames the pain and makes it gleam. Collaboration works the same way. Sam and Sadie don't fit cleanly. They grind, argue, and resist. They misunderstand each other as much as they understand each other. But the scene between them, where their imaginations meet, is golden. Their flaws become part of their method. Their insecurities become texture. Even their fighting produces clarity, and Ichigo is born from this exact tension. Zevin writes, "If you are always aiming for perfection, you won't make anything at all." And this is the secret truth of their partnership. Their games are not great because they are perfect, but because they embrace imperfection as a kind of design principle. They don't build despite the cracks, they build through them. A game is a container for failure. It requires loss, invites loss, and rebuilds loss. Games, like Kintsugi, transform breakage into meaning. A level doesn't become important until it defeats you. A life doesn't feel precious until it ends. A world doesn't feel alive until it pushes back. Marx articulates this most clearly. The game is only over if you stop playing. There is always one more life. Even the most brutal death isn't final. That's the golden lacquer of gaming, the belief that anything broken can be retried. Even grief, even heartbreak, and even identity. For Sam, games repair the loneliness of a body that has betrayed him. For Sadie, games repair the parts of her life where love and recognition collided painfully. Games give them a space where damage has rules, where pain can be metabolized, where the broken can be rearranged into a new shape. But not every fracture can be gilded. Marx's death is not a crack, it's an explosion, a shattering that spreads across every chapter afterward. It is the moment where the novel rejects the idea that games can fix everything. There is no respawn point. There is no restart. No golden seam wide enough to fix the break. And yet, like any artist confronted with the irreversible, Sam and Sadie keep building. Not to patch the hole, but to acknowledge it. This is where another quote rings true. Art doesn't typically get made by happy people. Grief becomes the raw material for their next worlds. Absence becomes a mechanic. Loss becomes a design choice. Kintsugi does not restore the original object. It creates a new one. And so do they. The philosophy of the novel is simple but radical. You do not succeed by avoiding failure. You succeed by surviving it. Iteration is the closest thing to salvation. Sam fails Sadie, Sadie fails Sam. They fail Marx, fail themselves, fail the work, and fail the deadlines. They fail and fail and fail. But the game continues because they don't stop playing. Kintsugi teaches that the break becomes the artwork. Games teach that the loss becomes the lesson. The novel teaches that the failure becomes the future. Together they form the larger truth. Creation is a rhythm of cracking and mending. To create is to believe in the next version of yourself. To collaborate is to believe in the next version of someone else. To play is to believe in tomorrow. Games do not promise victory. They promise possibility. And possibility is the heart of Kintsugi. The belief that broken things can be made precious, that damage can be illuminated, that cracks can be constellations. Marx's words echo again, framing the entire project of their lives. It's tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. The idea that if you keep playing, you could win. And maybe the point isn't winning. Maybe the point is continuing. Through heartbreak, through failure, through the shattered parts of being human. Kintsugi is not the art of fixing. It is the art of becoming. The art of being human. And this novel is not about two perfect artists, but two cracked people learning how to shine at the seams. In the end, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is not a story about gold seams or perfect repairs. It is a story about what happens after the repair fails, and after the repair after that fails too. Sam and Sadie don't get a clean reconciliation. They don't get an answer to who was right, or who was wrong, or who hurt whom more. What they get instead is something quieter, something harder earned. The ability to stand in the same room again without flinching at the cracks. They meet not as the prodigies they once were, not as the collaborators everyone mythologized, but as two adults who have broken in entirely different shapes. Sadie has learned that genius can be lonely. Sam has learned that survival can be isolating. And both of them have learned that the cost of creating anything real is the willingness to be changed by it. Their return to each other isn't triumphant. It's tentative. It's small. It's human. The novel doesn't end with a masterpiece. It ends with the start of something. Sam showing Sadie the outline of a new game, not as an invitation back to the past, but as a gesture towards a future they may never have made before. A future that doesn't fix the damage, but makes room for it. A future where the point isn't to erase what happened, but to acknowledge that the story is still being written. And that's the truth Zevin leaves us with. Not the promise of perfection, but the possibility of returning to the table with all your fractures and choosing to make something anyway. Kintsugi teaches that the cracks can be made visible. This novel teaches something even bolder. That two people can keep creating even though they're not sure how to fit anymore. That staying in the room is his own kind of art. And so the story closes not on gold, not on repair, but on a simple, stubborn act of beginning again. A tomorrow that isn't guaranteed, but is still theirs to attempt.